tell you about the January 8th celebrations. It is usually marked by cake, champagne, but this year we understand they will be releasing doves, signaling peace and wanting that unity and renewal of the ANC. But there's also the proverbial January 8th statement by whomever the party president, and this year it is President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's reflect on the significance of the January 8th statement. We're now joined by the former Arts and Culture Minister, Pallo Jordan. Thank you very much, sir, for availing yourself this afternoon in trying to mark just how effective, right, the January 8th statement is. The 2022 statement that was delivered by the party president, Cyril Ramaphosa, last year spoke of priorities for the ANC in 2022. There are some 5 priorities. The first one being build a social compact to decisively address unemployment and poverty. This is something that the party's president also spoke about during the State of the Nation address, saying in 100 days there will be that social compact. In trying to assess, again, how effective the statement has been, to your knowledge, do we have a social compact that we can tick off of this list?
Good morning. Well, one of the difficulties, I think, about a social compact is that it needs at least 2 parties. If one is willing to go into a social compact and the others are not, it's very difficult to secure it. It's difficult to assess the extent to which the prospective partners to the social compact have been willing to cooperate with government in terms of building that social compact. So I would not tick it off as one of the things that has been achieved.
You mentioned there are 2 parties in building a social compact.
At least.
At least, right. And if one does not want to play ball, then we cannot have one. And so are you able to identify the other parties that do not want to build the social compact?
I don't think that's very useful right now. But I think, our society, as you know, is divided into a number of sectors. We have a very strong business sector. We have a very strong labor sector, which is very divided, unfortunately, in the present moment. And then we have your civil society sector, which is also very divided. And then you have your political parties, which are in parliament and participate in local government and provincial government. All these have to work together. Now, there are a number of institutions that were established to try and facilitate a social compact, and NEDLAC being one of them. I am not certain NEDLAC has been as effective as it should be. Now, one is not trying to place blame on any particular one of the parties. There might be a whole number of impediments why things are not gelling. The problems with the ANC itself, problems of disunity, etc., might be a factor.
Right. The second priority of the January 8th statement of 2022 was defending our democratic gains against attempts to undermine our constitutional order and destabilize our democracy. Can we take that off the list?
I think defense of our democracy has been very effective. If you look at the role of the various institutions of our democracy, I think they are very strong. I don't think they are threatened by any internal or external forces. There are many people who might be critical of the capacity of our democratic institutions to deliver, but I think in terms of the strength and in terms of respect for the democratic institutions and how our people have used them effectively to advance their own rights and obligations in society, that has been very effective defense of democracy. It does need to be defended quite consistently, of course. As you can see, in many countries that are older democracies than ourselves, democracy is threatened from all sorts of directions. In some countries, beginning with the presidency and former presidency of those countries. And then there are a whole number of forces on the ground also which threaten democracy in very, very old democracies. So I think we've done well with respect to that. The things that are taking place in other parts of the world do not take place in South Africa, cannot take place in South Africa because of the strength of our democracy and the commitment of South Africans to their democracy.
Fair enough. The third priority, accelerate fundamental renewal and rebuilding of the ANC so that it is a more effective and trusted agent of change. While the party is still grappling with the notion of unity, has it been a trusted agent of change? While we appreciate this is not limited to just 2022, we could very well stretch it over the past 28 years.
Yes, one would say that that is, again, a continuing struggle, and it's had its up and downs, and I think in recent years, the effectiveness of the ANC has declined quite radically, and that's something that needs to be addressed very seriously, which is why the theme of the conference, which is concluding its proceedings today, is renewal. And that renewal is absolutely necessary in terms of promoting democracy and in building the ANC as the chief agency of the promotion of that democracy.
The fourth priority, build a capable developmental state with an effective and ethical public service that drives the implementation of South Africa's transformative agenda.
Right. Yes, that's also a continuing struggle. And I think if you look at the institutions of our democracy and how they have addressed those sorts of problems, again, one can say South Africa has been quite exemplary. You've had commissions of inquiry which have looked into, like the Zondo Commission and others, with that precise objective.
And the fifth priority for last year, according to the January 8th statement that was delivered, continue to work for a better Africa and a better world. South Africa played a pivotal role in brokering peace between warring factions in Ethiopia. That's one thing that we can tick off the list. Do we give ourselves enough credit as a country for the role that we play on the continent, being one aspect? And on the other hand, is it for lack of a better word, is it a burden that we also put on South Africa that it needs to look out for the rest of the continent? Is that something fair to say?
Well, I would say that as one of the more recent democracies on the African continent, South Africa has been punching much above its own weight. But I think we have quite a number of important achievements in that area, not least because of the strength of our democracy. And also, I think, perhaps also owing to the character of the leadership South Africa has been able to put in the field. If you look at the issue of the founding of the Republic of Southern Sudan, for instance, South Africa played a very important role there. South Africa is playing a role now with respect to the problem of Ethiopia. We are still engaged in the Lacustrine region, etc., etc. So, yeah, these are obligations we have as an African state because we are very much part of this continent. And the welfare, peace, stability of the continent is as important to South Africa as it is to other people in the continent.
100%. A closing thought from you, your outlook for the year, your expectations for the party. Very briefly for us, please.
I would say the process of renewal of the ANC has to be pursued with far greater vigor and perhaps with a little more rigor as well. What the ANC, I think, needs to do in the immediate future is to get its own house in order. one of the great weaknesses that is apparent is that at the grassroots level, the ANC is not connecting with the people in the manner it used to in the past. And that relationship needs to be rebuilt and renewed and reinvigorated.
Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. Former Arts and Culture Minister Pallo Jordan.